I love history. And one of my favorite websites for a long time is Shorpy.com. Shorpy features beautiful historic images with some location and context, which is just perfect when you need a break for a few minutes. They're even published in really large sizes so you can really get in and see the detail. So when I was making my last video, the 1751 machine that made everything, it had a lot of historical background, and so I needed a lot of photos. So my mind went right to some of the Shorpy photos I've seen in the past, as they would be perfect. I cruised over to Shorpy and clicked on the photos, ready to do a right click and a save as, when I noticed this little link that said Digital Images. Following the link, you're brought to a page about buying the images for commercial or even private use. Most of the images I'm interested in were published before 1923, or were produced by the WPA or U.S. Farm Security Administration, so shouldn't the copyright be expired or at least the images be freely available? And yeah, if you look over on the side, you'll notice it says most of the images are from the Library of Congress site. And doesn't the Library of Congress generally host images in large size, only for which there is no known restriction on their use? In other words, in the public domain? And when you look a little further down, we see that Shorpy is claiming copyright on them? What's up with that? Why can Shorpy charge me for the use of photos if the copyright is expired, or the US government has released them into the public domain? And there's even a form to invite you to inquire about the fee rates. So I requested them. And what we see is rates for different sizes up to $500 for the largest file. Do I think it's wrong that Shorpy is charging $500 and copywriting edited images taken from the Library of Congress public domain site? Absolutely not. Creative professionals should be paid for their work, and this is no exception, even if the image is public domain before being edited. If you take an image from a public domain site and perform even minor changes on it, that edited version becomes yours, and you can do with it what you want, including selling it and claiming copyright. The necessary bar for originality to claim new copyright is shockingly low, as set out in the famous 1991 Supreme Court case known as Feist v. Rural. The people at Shorpy also spend time finding interesting images and running a website, which is no small deal. And while sweat of the brow is not a cause for copyright application, I believe they should be compensated for their work if others judge it fair for the asking price. The images they edit are theirs to do with as they please, and I'm completely okay with them charging money for their work. Now, the original image is still in the public domain. That doesn't change. And while it doesn't apply here, I want to be clear this is different from the case of you using material which is already copyrighted by someone else. You can't use or slightly change someone's copyrighted material except for a few small cases which fall under something called fair use. Fair use applies when you use copyrighted material in certain editorial, commentary, parody, or other narrow cases. But I want to stress again that because Shorpy images come from the public domain, fair use does not apply here at all. Okay, so your case is like mine. You need a dozen or so images for a non-commercial educational project, and at $500 each, that's not going to happen. Remember how I said the status of the public domain image does not change? If there's an image on Shorpy you like, chances are it came from the Library of Congress collection. Shorpy does source some of their own photos, and they have a user base that uploads some too, but most are freely available in their original form from the Library of Congress. So we can bypass all of these legal and cost issues by going straight to the source. I'll show you how to get your own images, and then how to use free tools which can be used to get damn near Shorpy-like quality with just a few clicks, even if you have no photo editing skills or experience. First, on the Shorpy site, find an image you like. If it's an image from their personal archives or a user-uploaded photo, it will say so. But chances are it's from the Library of Congress. Look for a description of the photo in quotes, and then copy that to your clipboard. Now head over to loc.gov/photos. And just to confuse things, there's also loc.gov/pictures. I find the photos link generally has a better search engine, but they cover mostly the same collection, about 1 million photos. Paste into the search bar the photo you're looking for, and chances are you'll find it right away. If the /photos site doesn't work, try the /pictures one, you might find it there. Once you find it, you'll see the options for downloading. I recommend getting the TIFF version. Now, for some reason, the file sizes for the TIFF version are way off sometimes. And it might say it's a number of kilobytes, but when you download it's like 150 megabytes. I don't know what their problem is there. So, okay, great, we have an image. If you open it in an image viewer, you might notice it looks very flat and not nearly as appealing as the Shorpy image. Now we can see and appreciate the work that went into it. That said, there are some extremely easy to use tools that can help us to get close without a huge amount of knowledge or skill. A couple of years ago, a set of tools called the Nick Collection was made freely available. These are image editing tools hosted by Google, and one of them is a very powerful but simple to use black and white photo editor called Silver Efex Pro 2. There are other great tools in that collection, but I'm going to focus on Silver Efex for today. Once installed, it will integrate with Photoshop if you have it, or it can be used completely as a standalone program. It also works nicely alongside the GIMP-free image editing program, and there's a script on GitHub to link those two together. Now before we get started, there's one very minor rub with the image we just acquired. If we try and open it directly with Silver Efex, we will get an unsupported image format error, which is highly unhelpful. This is because the images are saved as grayscale, which makes sense, right? Because that's what they are. But Silver Efex needs the image to be in RGB mode. I believe this is because you have the option further along in the process to add some color tints. But boy would it be helpful to be able to switch modes inside Silver Efex itself, or at least have a better error message. While the free GIMP editor works fine to change the mode too, I use Photoshop and will change it here. Also, the Nick collection of tools also installs this little window into Photoshop, so I can just click a button and launch it into Silver Efex. Once in Silver Efex, there's a lot you can do in here, and I'm only going to touch on the highlights. There's a YouTube channel called Nick Collection Test, which has many great tutorials on their tools. Even if you just watch a couple of them, you will quickly learn what everything does. While you can do everything this program does in Photoshop or GIMP, this program makes everything so much more simple. First, down the left side, there's a number of presets showing a preview of what filter they will apply. You can just go down the list, clicking, you'll probably find one that gets you about 90% of the way that you want to an awesome image. And then once the preset is applied, you can start going down the right side and making tweaks. Again, I'm not going to go into detail here. There are a lot of excellent tutorials that explain what each of these do. But even if you just move the sliders around, you can usually understand how things work, and you can really make an awesome image fast. One thing I will touch on quickly is control points. These allow you to make edits in specific locations rather than globally across the image. You can place them wherever you want, and then set the size for how large of an area they will have influence. If you click the little checkbox next to its name, it'll invert the image and show you where it's acting. You'll notice it's a bit bigger than the control point you set, but it feathers away quickly. This is great for, say, tweaking someone's face. One method can be to make a small point on a face, but then make another control point much bigger than it to control how the background around it will be affected. At any time, you can click and hold the Compare button up at the top to see how your current work compares to the original. After just a few moments, we can see we've already made a huge improvement. And that's it. If we compare to the original Shorpy image, we can see the professionally edited original image is superior to my quick edit, but maybe not by all that much. There's also a lot of work that can be done fixing scratches or other imperfections that I'm not going to cover here, and that can take a lot of skill to do as well. For my uses, my edit is fine, but if you have a commercial need, pay a pro to do a really good job. Also, while you might find a lot of great images on Shorpy as inspiration, there's over 1 million images hosted on the Library of Congress site, so dig around and look for amazing images that no one's found yet. Often what looks like a dull image, with just a little bit of editing, can really spring to life. The same people behind Shorpy also run other sites that make framed prints from other public domain images, like the popular WPA National Park posters. If you want copies for yourself, head over to the Library of Congress and get them all there, but be prepared to do some work to fully bring out their potential. In the spirit of sharing, I'm going to upload all of the historical images I used for my last video and release them into the public domain. Look in the description for where to find them. I'll also include some other sources of images which are either free or Creative Commons. Good luck with finding and editing your own great images. If you know of any other good sources for photos, please let me know. And finally, if you can support the people at Shorpy, please do so. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.